Welcome to the second episode of Playground, which is our community event here at Play by Jellynote. Thanks for being here. So the first episode about how to deal with finances as a musician is online on the Jellynote YouTube channel. You can check that out if you so desire. I am JC the Beard. I am the brass section leader here. And today I am joined by Sylvain, CBO of Jellynote, and Dana, who's the string section leader, if she's able to make it back in here. So you already know who I am. Sylvain, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Say hello.
Yeah, sure. So, hi. I'm basically trying to take care of organizing how we improve play and not doing it. That's always the job of people who know how to code. And apart from that, I used to be an engineer, trained as a musician at Berkeley, spent 10 years playing guitar, and this other fancy instrument here, which is called dambao, which is basically my second instrument. I believe for the subject as interesting as tonight, I've been doing quite a lot of field recording and home recording with very little material, gear, very bad gear as well, in very bad conditions. So, and you can always make something out of it. And so I guess that would be, yeah. So hi everybody.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the main topic, which is going to be for this week, the importance of making good sound recordings. Just as Sylvain said, it's possible to do anything with anything. You just have to know the limitations of your equipment and get the best out of what you have. So I was actually the one that suggested this topic when we were doing our discussion on what we wanted to present to you guys this week. So I'm going to talk a little bit about different strategies that you can employ to make the most out of your equipment when recording for play or for your own projects, and talking a little bit about options you might have if you're looking to upgrade as well. So let's go ahead and start off by saying that if you don't have high quality equipment, don't feel bad. Don't feel like you can't participate, you can't submit things. We want you to be here, and whatever form and equipment that you have, you're more than welcome to participate. So don't feel like I'm dogging you if you don't have access to anything super high quality. We want you to participate. We want you to be here. We value you as a person and a musician. I'm just trying to get the information out so you can make the best sounds that you possibly can and share the best form of yourself with all of us when you're participating with play. So that being said, let's take a very quick overview about how the sound recording process works, which is you convert a analog signal, I guess is the best way to describe it, by performing on your instrument or your voice or whatever it is you're playing, and a computer microphone will pick up the sound, convert it to digital file, and process it in whatever format your computer or your phone or whatever device you're using uses to work, and then converts it into a sound file that then gets integrated on the Play website with the software and all the work they've done to present to you in the form of the play. So they've done a ton of work. I know Sylvain will absolutely have all sorts of stuff to say about this, but they've done a ton of work behind the scenes getting your sound to sound as good as possible when it gets integrated with everyone else's videos to create the group plays. But I don't know too much about how they work behind the scenes with that, but there is a ton of stuff that they do, like compression, equalization, and different things to make your sound as good as it possibly can. So I think it's important to make sure that the sound that I give the system is as good as it possibly can be, so that when it goes through all of that stuff, it makes it even better. And that way you guys can enjoy watching something that is the product of a lot of work and a lot of effort to try and get the best sound possible. So let's go ahead and move into the different types of setups, just as a quick overview. Probably a lot of you who are watching this will have either a plug-and-play USB microphone or just use the integrated sound on your laptop or possibly your phone if you're able to get that to work. And I personally have a plug-in USB interface and an XLR microphone. I've got a Shure SM7B, which is a voiceover microphone some people also use for recording instruments. But advantages and disadvantages of a couple of these different setups, if you're not aware. Integrated microphones on your laptop or your phone, obviously the main advantage of that is it's really cheap because it's something you already own. It's easily portable, can go wherever you might be going to record. Disadvantages of that, audio quality generally on those is not very good unless you are really, really good at figuring out how to work with the limitations of it. And you really can't control any sound parameters. You can't adjust the gain. You can't adjust a lot of the processing that it does. But it is cheap, and it's what a lot of people have on hand. So if that's what you've got, that's fine. We just got to figure out a way to work with it to make the best sounds possible. And of course, your plug and play USB microphones, most people will have heard of something like a Blue Yeti. It's a microphone that is having a little bit of internal processing that it does, and it communicates with your computer via a USB connection. They're really affordable. You don't have to spend a ton of money to get a good sound out of one of those. Pretty much any electronics retailer sells them. They're very easy to acquire. Possible disadvantage of that is it is an additional expense. If you have a limited budget, it might not be something that you can really work with, but it is more affordable than the more complicated setup like the one that I have, and I know a lot of other people might have as well. With the USB interfaces and XLR mics, obviously the main advantage of those is you have professional equipment and you get a professional sound if you know how to use it. So you can get really great quality recordings, and you can even, like, people will record voiceovers and music from their home studios that makes it onto broadcast or film or TV shows or anything like that. It's very, very easy to get good quality out of something like that. Obviously, the main disadvantage is they cost a lot of money and they can be very complicated to set up. So again, don't feel bad if you don't have an expensive or complicated setup. You can still get really good results if you know how to work with what you have. So that being said, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about getting the most out of, let's say, less than ideal equipment. Starting with the built-in webcams and microphones, the main limitation with these, as you might know if you've been working with those, is you can't really adjust any of the settings. So you have a microphone usually on a laptop will be what's called an array microphone, which is one or two, sometimes more, little tiny microphones like the size of the head of a pin that are mounted somewhere on the screen or around there that are designed to pick up voice for video calls or something like that. They don't really work great for picking up instrumental sounds, especially loud instruments like brass, which of course is what I play mostly. And the problem with that is you're going to be fighting a lot of problems with sound pressure and gain. So when you're working with something like that, you really want to make sure that you are doing as much as you can in your recording environment and where you position yourself and how you play, so you don't overload the microphone or clip it. That would be the distortion that you might hear in some of the recordings you've seen, or if you've ever talked to somebody on the phone and it just sounds really ugly and harsh, that's going to be your microphone distortion, because the microphone is not designed to handle that kind of an input. So what I always like to do if I have to record with something like that is, if you can't adjust the gain, you can't decrease it, the easiest way to solve that problem is just get further away from the microphone. That's going to decrease the sound intensity as you move further away, and it's going to lessen the likelihood that you're going to overload the microphone. And that might not always be possible depending on your space limitations, but the further away you can get from a microphone like that, the less likely you're going to be to just automatically super overload it. And obviously if it's a laptop with a webcam that you're also using, that can be a little tricky, but there's different stuff you can do. You have to just kind of experiment with your individual setup and see what works for you. So aside from that, if you have a USB input microphone like a Blue Yeti or similar, you might have some options on that microphone or in your individual computer software to manipulate settings for that. I know the Yeti does have a gain knob, which is what I referenced earlier as the primary way to reduce distortion. So if you're experiencing problems with that and you have your audio sounding really harsh or clipping poorly, the first step on that is just turn the gain down until you don't hear it anymore coming through, and then figure out what you need to do to make the best sound possible. Again, it's just experimentation. That's what a lot of this is having to take the work and the effort to actually manipulate settings and try again until you get the sound that you want, and make sure that that's whatever you're looking to put out is the best product possible with what you have. That's really what all of this is. So as far as those two things go, there's really not too much more you can do with those since they're such a simple setup. So if you're having other issues, like for example, your sound like you're inside of a tin can, or there's a lot of echo or anything, that's probably going to be something to do with your individual recording environment. So I know for example, if you see in the camera behind me, I'm recording in my bedroom and it's a carpeted room. I've got a big bedspread and I've got a lot of things that will absorb and dampen sound. So if you've ever heard any of my recordings on play, they're not very echoey. There's not a lot of, I guess, wetness, what you would say, to the sound, and that's because this is an environment that doesn't reverberate very well. Whereas if you're recording in someplace like a kitchen with tile floors, or a great big room that has a lot of different surfaces for sound to reflect off of, it's going to come into your recordings as introduced wetness or different, well, what's the word I'm looking for? Different reverberations going into your microphone that can actually make the sound worse, depending on how your setup is configured. So an easy way to solve that problem, if you have a lot of echoes that are permeating into your recordings, is you can take pillows. I don't have one on hand, but you can take like just regular pillows that might be on your bed or a blanket or coats or something and place them in the vicinity of the microphone so that you reduce the echoes going into the actual recording device. And
there's something that I will always do in this kind of situation too. It's a room doesn't behave in the same way in the different places where you can place yourself inside this room. And if you go around a room that's kind of too echoey or has too much reverb and you don't have enough stuff to fix it, then you might actually go around and clap your hands until you find a spot where it doesn't feel that noisy when you clap your hands. And that's maybe a good place to go and try to fix a little further. So where you are in the room also might have a big influence on what you get.
Right, that's a very good point. So thanks for introducing that. Like I said earlier, you can't always control everything about where you record or the equipment that you have, but you've got to put in the work to find what works best for you. And I know, for example, for me recording all the different instruments that I play, they all behave differently. So my main instrument is euphonium, which is if you're not aware, it's an instrument in the tuba family that has a bell that points up and kind of to the side. So if I'm recording that, I'm going to have the microphone in a different spot versus recording with trumpet, or especially French horn. French horn's very hard to record because of how the sound bounces around. Like it's not something like a trumpet where you point the trumpet at the microphone and, oh, that's a good trumpet sound. French horn relies heavily on the echoes of the space that it's in. If you ever have gone to a concert hall and seen an orchestra or a concert band perform, you'll notice that the French horns are usually positioned on the side of the ensemble to where their sound that comes out of their bell will reflect on the sides and back of the room before it reaches the audience. And that gives, specifically for French horn, its individual sound that a lot of people really like, has a lot of body, a lot of resonance to it. If you put a microphone inside the bell of a French horn and record it, it's going to sound awful. And you're going to think, wow, this sounds like trash. Like, why would anyone want to play this? Well, that's just what the instrument sounds like, unfortunately, because you're so accustomed to how the different environments and the different recording techniques make the instrument sound different. So again, if you have individual instruments, whatever you're playing, try to think about how the sound of your instrument is supposed to come across in a recording, and you can adjust your environment, you can adjust your playing position, the microphone position, and all the different aspects of your recording setup to make sure you're getting the best sound possible. I know it took me forever to figure out how to get a halfway decent horn sound in a bedroom with not a lot of reflective surfaces. But yeah, just to reiterate, you can make almost any setup work to a reasonable degree of satisfaction, but you have to figure out what your individual setup needs for that to happen, if that makes any sense. And of course, since play is, I'm sorry?
Yeah, I mean, if you have the luxury of having your microphone in a different place than the webcam, if you have the luxury to be able to move the microphone around, that's something that is going to make the whole difference. If you look at, I mean, I've been recording guitar mainly, and if you look at how you place the mic in front of the amp, there is no actual answer to this. It's just a matter of taste. But if you move your mic just an inch, it's going to change everything. So the only actual way to find where you should place it is to put it somewhere, record, listen back, put it somewhere else and listen back, which means that's one of the biggest things you need to improve your recordings is actually good headphones. Because as long as you're listening on very poor sound system, you'll never know how you sound. So that the actual process of improving the way you sound is also a matter of how can you listen back to it.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So the headphones I've got on, these are Sony MDR7506s, I believe. So if you take a look, yeah, well, it's flipped because I'm recording on OBS and it flips images horizontally. But these are headphones that are appearing a whole lot in recording studios, radio booths, TV studios. They're not super expensive. In the scheme of headphones, I think I paid around $100 US for these, which might sound like a lot if you're someone who's not used to how much audio equipment costs, but these are some of the best, most honest sounding headphones that you can get at this price point. If you're used to something like, say, Beats by Dre, for example, have incredibly heavy bass response and are going to emphasize those kind of frequencies, and you're not really going to get an honest interpretation of your sound. So that's another consideration.
I'm just quickly leaving this room.
Ah, yes. They're good headphones. Like, they sound good, and certain types of music, you're really, really going to appreciate how that sounds on there. But if you're doing audio editing or video editing, which I have a background in, the mix is not going to sound super authentic on there. And when somebody else goes to listen to it on a different system, the sound might be completely out of whack. So it's important to take into consideration that your sound is going to be different on different equipment. So try to get a good idea of what it might sound like on a phone speaker or your set of headphones or a different set of speakers. And you can inform your sound and your different changes that you're going to make to that by just honestly having a diversity of experience listening to things.
That's maybe, if we look at the purpose of play, there is something a little specific about it. If we think of the use of it, we're not studio production. It's not a place where you will actually produce the best recordings you ever made. It's good that you sound good. It's good that you get to the best out of the system. But this is just for your own satisfaction, and the satisfaction of the community is more for fun than to get something really amazing. And after all, you know that in most cases you're going to listen back to it on your phone. So you're going to listen back to it with the usual headphones you use when you're listening on your phone. You're going to use it in this way, like social media sound. And you shouldn't be expecting to have recordings that are so natural and pure. You can allow yourself, I believe, Leandro, you have this kind of experience. If you're recording bass, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to record bass.
I was about to say this. I got really surprised how we can record a bass with this microphone. You know, the same microphone I'm using now with this at this meeting. I used to record my bass, and I got very good results. You know, that depends where you can put your phones. You know, using I plug my phone on my laptop, then I reach to my box, to my audio source, and then I got a really good result putting this built-in microphone very close to the audio source. And you know, it's really impressive how the mechanism of compression play can make a bass sounds good with just that, which is, you know, I got really terrified to be honest about it. You guys deserve really a great congratulations.
Well, actually, there is one of the secrets here is that we totally disrespect any audio rule that a sound engineer would actually work with. And the first rule that we don't go by is we will not take 92 kilohertz and 32-bit sound as an input, because, I mean, you have to send this over bandwidth, over normal phone bandwidth somewhere, and that's actually even bad for the planet. I mean, so we rely on very compressed audio media quality, and as much as we keep the highest rate for compression there, it's going to be compressed from the source. So when you record yourself, your browser, your web browser, is going to compress the sound. So next improvement will, of course, that if we know which instrument comes in, we could actually adjust specifically for each instrument, and maybe enable some of so especially the singers right now. We know that voice is one of would need a lot more compression, and would need maybe a slight volume boost, because we're used to have the voice being the leader when we listen back to music, and we haven't done this so far. But everybody is equal in play, and that's maybe the one strategy in terms of we should keep in the future too.
Cool. So sorry that I dropped out for a second. They're still repairing the power lines after last night's storm, and I guess it knocked my internet out for a little bit. But did anyone have any questions about anything that we've talked about so far as we look to kind of move into the next part of this event? All right, so if not, then I think we can go ahead and move on to talking about our next part here. So, of course, as we've discussed, this is all about making the best recordings possible for Play, the platform. So let's go ahead and take a little bit of time to talk about one of these projects that we've got. Has Dana made it back in here yet?
Doesn't look so.
Okay. So we're going to talk about her one of her arrangements that she's made, which was the Spring Sonata for strings, which is something that's available on the Play platform if you're not aware. So I'd encourage you to go take a look at the different offerings on there. There's a lot of great music that we've put on recently. Of course, every week we have a new edition in every section, and every month we have a new big group challenge. I know last week we talked a little bit about Mr. Blue Sky, which is the one that I had arranged for everyone. That's still open as well. So I would encourage you to take a look at the catalog, see everything that's available, and make your own play, maybe using some of the advice that you've learned about today in this event. So if anyone has any questions about the process of making plays or participating in big events, we can take those as well. If not, then we can move on to our game portion of the afternoon. So if anyone has any questions, now's a good time to ask.
Well, I would have trouble having questions on how this works since basically we designed it. So
well, that's fine.
We're actually moving on, making it every time simpler to understand how to join in. If you guys have seen those plays in the Play channel, and if some of you have still not experienced it, I'm not sure who Chief is here, and then the one thing that is the magic about it is just that as soon as you submit the recording, you'll be just added to the previous video, and that's basically everything you have to know about it. You have to trust the fact that as long as you have a mic and the webcam, your recording is going to be taken into account finally. So I'm using my iPhone most of the time. I mean, it's the smartphone plugged in as USB inside my laptop. And that's actually a very easy solution, because this way I can just move the sheet music around, be set up really nicely. And the mic from the phone, if you're not using the one from a Bluetooth headset, is actually going to work really just fine. And this enables me to place the camera the way I want it, and the mic not too far away from where I'm playing. So in a fine room, and when the kids are not shouting too hard in the background, then this works pretty okay. And I can rely on this to just make any play. Mm-hmm. So if you trust this, everything is just straightforward from there.
Right. And that's another good thing to reiterate. Whatever you have is fine. We're not going to get angry if your audio quality isn't the best. We're here to make music and enjoy being together with other people and creating something. So you're more than welcome, whether your setup is a super high quality professional recording studio, or it's a phone in your closet or your bedroom or whatever. We want you to participate, and we want you to feel included and valued. That's the most important thing, at least for me. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I always love seeing everybody's contributions, no matter the skill level, no matter the recording quality. I just want to make sure if there's something I can do to help you sound better, I want to be able to do that as a section leader and as another human being. So you can always feel free to reach out to me for advice or questions or anything. And yeah, just take a chance to do it. It's a lot of fun. So I think now we can go ahead and...
What's the next tune that you're actually delivering, Jay?
So we actually just, I guess today technically is the end of the poll. So every week, if you're not familiar, every week the sections put out a poll where you can vote on different music that you want to play on Play, And this week I put out 5 different options, but the one that got the most votes overwhelmingly is the battle theme from the original Pokemon video games for the Game Boy, the red and blue version. So that's going to be a really fun arrangement for brass. It's probably going to be a little more challenging than some of the other ones we've done just by the nature of how the piece works. But that will be out Tuesday, as will all the other arrangements for the different sections. And I am very excited to see what everyone wants to vote for next week when I put the new options up. But there's, of course, if your section isn't brass, there's we've got a garage band that Leandro is in charge of, strings that Dana's in charge of, woodwinds that Juan, who's also on the Jelly Note team, is in charge of, and then we've also got voice section that Dana and some of the other people collaborate on. And I think that's all the different sections that we're currently arranging for. But there's new stuff every week.
And please trust that these song polls are actually democratic, because it's true that every time that one comes out, the winner takes it all every time. But it is democratic. There is no cheating here. So go check out the song polls and vote for the one you like, even if it's just this. It's like always the one that everybody wants.
Yeah, mine. I'm working in a very, very funny arrangement from Gorillaz. Is a song called "Feel Good Me."
Love that song.
And it has a very good bass line.
It's one of my favorites. And while we're on the subject, just real quick before we move on, you don't have to play only the instruments that are listed in the play. Like, I've taken over string quartets on my instruments, and I know Juan is famous for doing clarinet on everything. And I think Sylvain has also done some pretty unusual instruments on a lot of different stuff. Use your imagination. Again, the most important thing is that you have fun.
With more.
Oh, I can't wait. But feel free.
The Dunbow again, yeah.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. Feel free to just participate however you want to participate on whatever instrument, no matter what the play is. If you can transpose it, you can play it, and we'd love to have you join us for that. So on the subject of plays, we do have a game portion to kind of close out this week's event of a blind test of different plays that have been uploaded to the platform. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a screen share in a minute, and I'm going to put up videos of plays that users have actually contributed. And they don't have titles, they don't have any other information aside from the actual recording of the people playing. So what you're going to do is you're going to guess what the song is that's played, and then I believe, Sylvain, the winner gets something. Is that right?
Is that ready? I believe I should ask Morgan.
Yes. Yeah, we're giving out the t-shirts that people can vote for on Discord. We're basically making polls, and people that win the blind test can get a cool t-shirt.
All right, so looks like we've got Ian and Chief in here.
Not one of those that I've already worn. Please trust that it's not going to be one of those.
Nice shirts, by the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool designs. Yeah, there's 5 different designs in the Discord if you haven't had the chance to go check that out. So go vote for your favorite. We got a fantastic, fabulous model displaying all the designs. But yeah, Ian and Chief, this is your time to shine in the comments section, or the comment section. Jeez, this isn't YouTube. The text chat, or if you want to turn your microphone on and guess. I'm going to go ahead and start a screen share right now, if I can get this pulled up. All right, so this should be my VLC window that you can see. This is the first blind test we're going to make. Everyone can see that. If not, it'll be in the final mix of the video. I will overdub that in the editing software before I have that sent off to be uploaded. So this is the first one. I'm going to play it in full so we can appreciate the performance. And whenever you think you might know what it is, feel free to unmute your mic and just give us a guess. So without further ado, this is the first excerpt.
Is everybody ready here? Yeah.
Is that the
It's the fourth theme.
Well, very good. That is, in fact, what it is. So 1 point for Sylvain here. I'll go ahead and record that in our official score sheet. But let's go ahead and listen to the rest of it. We can hear it in full. This is This is Winter Winslow, user on Play, recording this on marching baritone, which is a fun instrument. So that's a fun excerpt. That's on Play for a variety of different instruments, actually. There's one for, I believe, clarinet, and then this is a transposed version for bass clef, non-transposed instruments. So I'm going to put up the second one now here. Should still be in the same window.
Sweet Caroline, oh my god.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Good job. Missing a little bit of the melody here, but you can add that yourself on Play. The parts aren't very hard. It's a lot of fun.
That's a P-bone.
It is.
It's a plastic trombone. Yeah. I didn't notice that, and Roger.
Yeah, Alan is a very talented brass player on pretty much everything I've seen him play. So he actually did that arrangement originally for a British-style brass band, believe it or not. He came to me, I think, a couple weeks ago. He said, hey, I've got this really cool arrangement. I'd like to put it on Play. So we went through and we edited it down so it wasn't 4 minutes long and removed some of the extraneous instruments that we don't use here in, well, anything that's not competitive British brass band. But he's a very, very talented musician, composer, and arranger, and I'm glad he shared that with us. The other people on the arrangement, of course, were Osaltar on flute, Alan Roger on trumpet, trombone, and then Leandro on bass. Leandro, did you record that with the same little headset microphone you were talking about earlier?
No, actually, I recorded using my audio device, my Yamaha audio device. That one was using a different audio source.
Okay. Well, that just goes to show you that there's a lot of different ways you can record for Play. We'll go ahead and move on to the next one right here, number 3. Hopefully this will still work correctly.
Well, I guess I don't have the right to play here.
I couldn't quite hear you. What was that?
Africa?
Close enough.
Wait, no, I'm sorry. No, it's not, bro. What? What am I talking about? Yeah, no, that's not Africa.
Well, it's part of the title. Do you know the full title of the song? Do you know who sings it?
Yeah, nah.
All right.
It's Welcome to Africa, or This is Africa, something like that, bro.
You're very close. You're very close. All right, let's listen to the rest of it. See if it comes to you here. Do you have any more of an idea what that might be called? Who sings it? Because unless Ian knows, then I'm going to give you the points.
The singer is from South America.
All right, well, if you don't know, I'm still going to give you the point because you were the only one that actually guessed. But yeah, it is Waka Waka, This Time for Africa by Shakira. You were very, very close.
Somebody should take a part in there with the...
With the what? Your voice cut out, I'm sorry.
With the Vuvuzela.
Oh, please.
How they did this.
At the World Cup in 2010.
Show up and
Boy, that was something. That was, I think YouTube even put a button on videos back then that you could turn on the Vuvuzela sound on any video. Boy, that was annoying. But that's fun. That's a really fun arrangement, performed here by, I believe it's Varen Bos on drum set, Juan on clarinet, Sylvain on guitar, Landra on bass, and Dana, who's our string section leader, on violin. So there's all sorts of fun stuff you can play. I think that one even has some parts that aren't fully filled out, so it's easy to find that on the website if you'd like to participate in that. Let's go ahead and move on to the fourth one here, which is a partially completed play. Lots of parts available on this. See if you can still figure out what it is. All right, anybody know what that is?
It's a certified bestseller in the sheet music industry.
For sure. I'd be very surprised if nobody knows what this is from. Although maybe not. I guess I'm a little older than probably a lot of the users.
I know, I can recognize it, but I don't know the name.
Oh, you're going to kick yourself when you find out what this is.
Yeah.
Either of the rest of you know?
The Phantom of the Opera?
That is correct.
Oh man, yeah.
That's that iconic theme. Man, I love that musical so much. I guess Leandro gets the point for that one. But oh man, it is. I had the chance to see it on Broadway when I was in New York in I think it was 2014 when my university did the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Phenomenal musical. It's well worth watching if you haven't seen it. Amazing music, and that arrangement was made by Juan for the woodwind section, performed by Oseltar on flute and Crimson Sax on saxophone, both of whom have done a lot of plays, a lot of really great recordings. So I think there's another 3 or 4 parts on that play that haven't been recorded. So if you feel like participating on that, no matter what your instrument is, please do. I'll probably record something on brass instruments for that later. We've got one more, number 5 here for you guys. We'll go ahead and play this and see if you can guess what it is.
What, Billie Jean?
Yep, that's exactly it. Yeah, so that is a fun, quick arrangement of Billie Jean by Michael Jackson, performed by Oseltar, Alicio Ruiz, Juan, and Dana. And there's a couple other parts on that available as well. This is actually an arrangement we workshopped in a previous play event, maybe about a month ago, on composition and arranging. I can't remember exactly who submitted it to the community, but that is a user submitted score. If you have anything that you've written or arranged and you want to play, go ahead and drop it in the score submissions channel, and one of the team members will take a look at it and we'll see if it's a good fit for play and whatever modifications might need to be made, and then we'll get it up on the platform. But yeah, that is all 5 of our blind test excerpts. Chief has 2 points. Sylvain, Leandro, and Ian all have 1 point. So I believe that means Chief has 1 and will be able to receive some sweet Jelly Note merch, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly what's going to happen. Chief, I'm going to DM you to get your information so I can send you a t-shirt.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun to see what those end up looking like. I know there's a lot of really cool designs. But yeah, so that is all we have programmed for this week's edition of Playground. I will be available, and I'm sure a couple other people will want to stick around as well if you have any other questions about audio recording or anything else we discussed, or if you just want to hang out for a little bit. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in this week. It's been a lot of fun trying out this new format. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Another topic will be put to a vote this upcoming week, and you will be able to decide which of those topic ideas we'll cover next weekend. So be on the lookout for that. That poll should go up probably Monday morning. I think my Discord might have just crashed. Can you okay, so I guess my computer and Discord hates me. So this will be an interesting recording for me to I'll put my camera back on. This will be an interesting recording for me to go back and try to edit before Morgan puts it up online. But yeah, and in case you missed anything that I said when my computer cut out, the topic will be put up to a vote. We'll have some ideas up for you. I believe Monday morning is when that poll goes up. So take a look at the options, vote for what you want to see next week. And then, of course, the recordings for all of these will be available in perpetuity online, or at least until someone wants to take them down. But yeah, if you missed anything the beginning of the show, or you want to go back and listen to anything that we talked about, it will be available online for you to peruse at your leisure. And of course, you can keep hanging out if you want. I'll be around for a little bit longer at least. And then, yeah, thanks for being here. Hope you had a good time. Congrats to Chief for winning some sweet Jelly Note merch, and we'll hopefully see you back next weekend. But yeah, that's it for this second edition of Playground. Thanks for being here.